Morning. Thank you. Okay. So we have seen like how the data binding is and what exactly the data binding. So data binding is something like we have some data which is available on the component. Okay, I have a component class where it contains some data. Let's say an employee ID 101 and at the same time employee name I'll give with some other value, right? So I'll do what? This is what a component that we are having, and where my component class, if we can take, we have the data, and that data where it comes from different data sources. Either you can get it from that API or you can get it from the database or you can get it from some XYZ resource, whatever it might be. We have the data like this: employee ID is equal to 101 and employee name is equal to, you can give the name, and then we have the salary is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this data, what I want to do, I have to display it in my UI. Understand? Suppose let's say I have a UI and this is the UI where I can display the data over here. I am using what? A template. Template is nothing but component.html. Template is nothing but what? Component.html. Now the requirement is going to be whatever the data we have here, we just wanted to transfer this data to the HTML. And at the same time, whatever the data the HTML is giving, we have to give that particular data to the component. And to do like, these two things, we use a concept of what? Data bindings. Okay, data binding. Now, what is a data binding? Data binding is a mechanism. Data binding is a mechanism which will be used to transfer the data from component to the template and a template to the component. Understand? We have two options. One is what? Component to the template and then template to the component. Whenever if you want to do that, then that concept, what exactly we call it as a data binding. Understand? That concept, what we call it as data binding. Okay, that concept, what we call it as data binding. Now here, as I told you, data binding will work with two design patterns. One is going to be based on MVC and second one based on MVVM. MVC is nothing but where you can have the component and where you can store send the data to the template. And MVVM in the sense like there only it will be. Okay, I'll let you know the differences between both the thing. But right now, whatever the data binding I'm explaining, that is purely based on MVC, where I have the models that are defined here. And by using these models, we will be displaying the data in the template. And here we have the two ways to do that one. One is going to be one-way data binding. That means either you can get the data from here to here, or you can give the data from here to here. And the next one we have here is going to be two-way data binding. Two-way data binding is something like bidirectional. Understand? Two-way data binding is something like it's a bidirectional. Bidirectional in the sense both the ways we can do that. So we have to, that means one time if we can modify it in one place. Suppose let's say if I modify it in the component, then template will be modified. If I modify it in the template, then component will get modified. Then that is what we call it as a two-way data binding. Understand? We have like two things. One is going to be one way and second one is the two way. And right now we are going to discuss about one way, that too sharing the data from component to the template. That is what we are going to do. Sharing the data from component to the template. So in order to do that one, we have an interpolation syntax. This is the interpolation syntax that we are having. And another one that I have told you, this is basically property binding. Understand? Property binding. That means when the interpolation syntax is going to be, whenever if you people wants to bind the data directly to the HTML, whenever if you wanted to bind the data directly to the HTML, there you can use the interpolation syntax. There you can use the interpolation syntax. But you have a requirement. The requirement is going to be, you wanted to set a value, a dynamic value to the property of the HTML. To the property of the HTML, there you can use the attribute binding. That means, let's say, I want to display an employee ID here within my H1 tag so that I can do what? H1, and we will close the H1 here. And at the same time, we will be using EMP-ID. That time when I'm giving that, then automatically whatever the value we are having here in 101, that value will be comes here and sits over there. That is how it is going to be. That means directly if you wanted to display the HTML, directly if you wanted to display the HTML, there you can use this particular one. Then when the property binding is going to be, property binding in the sense, now for every tag, every HTML tag, we have the properties are available. That means, let's say if you can take an image tag, SRC is the property, or else let's say you can take a table tag. Table tag is having like, the property, something like border is the property, width is the property. Like that, we have different properties that are available. And to that particular property, if you wanted to give a dynamic value, if you wanted to give a dynamic value, there you can use the property binding. That is where in the last example, you can see I have an image and SRC is a property that what I'm having. For that particular one, we have given the property here. That means image URL, something that I have used, and I use that image URL. Understood? Did you remember? Image URL has to be given. Image URL has to be given. That means what is the thing here is, whenever if we can give a property binding by using the square bracket, and this will become dynamic now. So that whatever the property we have used in the component, instead of giving the direct value, we can give that particular one. Shrikant, what is the advantage? Suppose let's say I just wanted to maintain same image for around, let's say, 4 to 5 places. Just assume that I want to display same image around like 4 to 5 places. If I'm directly giving the image tags, let's say this is one image tag, like that, you can have like, you see, like that I have different image tags. This is one image tag. Now you can see, I use this image tag here, SRC is equal to, let's say, image one dot, directly if I'm giving the path. Okay, if I'm writing something like assets slash image one dot JPG, I'm going to display something like this. This is for one place. And again, I'll display for second place. I'll display in third place. I'll display in fourth place. And I'll display in 5 times. Maybe, okay, fine, testing it is done perfectly. But when it comes to the business point of view, the business people think that that image is not good in pixel. Then what they are doing, they change that image. Okay, and the image name is going to be, let's say, image2.jpg, or else like, let's say, bg image what they have given for us. Then how many places I have to change? I have to change it in each and every place where I'm using that image one, right? Yes or no? Hello? Hello? Yes, tell me. Yes or no? Wherever I have used, like, that image one, there I can go there and I have to change it explicitly. But instead of doing that, I don't want to give direct data, rather I can give a dynamic data. So for that reason, what I can do, I'll be giving a syntax something like this. That means if I'll be using like this, okay, I'm using, let's say, an attribute binding or property binding. Property binding, generally what we call it as attribute binding, a bit different. Okay, now I'll be using here and I'll be using here. And here in all the places, what I can do, I don't want to give directly to this one. Okay, rather what I can do, I'm using image URL. And here also, I'll be using image URL. And here also, I'll be using image URL. That means image URL is basically what? It is a variable, or else it is a property which I am getting it from the component. And I am using something like image URL. Now what I can do, in my component, I'll create a image URL is equal to, right now, what I can do, I'll give this one. Okay, I'll give this one and I can display it to the user. Suppose if somebody has changed that image 2 to image 3, then how many places I need to do the modification? How many places I supposed to do the modification? Do I need to change it here? Anything? No need. Only one place I can change. In place of image 2, where I can give, let's say, image 3 I can give. Understood? Tell me. In place of image 2, I can go with image 3. That time when I'm giving image 3, automatically it is getting updated on the UI. That is the importance of data binding when it comes to the real-time application development. Understood? In real time, we use the data binding in order to get the dynamic content from the component and bind it with the HTML. Binding with the HTML. And to do that one, we have two ways. Okay, we have two ways. What are those? By using interpolation syntax, and second one is going to be property binding. That time when I'm giving the property binding here, for this SRC, if I'm giving a bracket, then automatically here it is accepting a variable which comes from the component. That's a default nature. Pavan, like, that is a default nature. So like that, we have understand these two. That is where I have explained you what is MVC and how it is going to be, what exactly the interpolation syntax is going to be, and what is property binding. As I told you, we can access any HTML property by using the property binding and assign the value dynamically. Assign the value dynamically. That is how it is going to be. And here we can access only the properties which are the part of HTML, which are the part of HTML. And most of the people, they might get confused. Srikanth, what is the difference between attribute routing and then what is the difference between property binding? Very, very, very confusing thing here. Okay, very, very confusion here. What is the difference between attribute binding and property binding? I can say, what is the difference between property binding and then attribute binding? Because like in both the cases, you can see we use square brackets only, right? In both the cases we have seen, we use the square bracket only. But what is the difference in between those two? What is the difference in between those two? It's a very important thing that what everyone should do. Now here, I'll tell you the difference. The one difference is going to be attributes are, okay, attributes are immutable, immutable, immutable in the sense like, they are not going to change, okay, cannot change according to the, according to state and situation. That means those are not going to be changed at all. And when I say about properties, properties are mutable, mutable, can change according to the state and situation. Can change according to the state and situation. Okay, can change according to the state and situation. That is how it is going. Now, how it is going to be, how we are going to use it. Now you can see, suppose let's say I have an image tag. I have an image tag, and image tag will contain src, and where you can give some value, and maybe I can give class equal to something that what I have given. Now here I can access that src directly by using image.src, because it is a property which is available for that image tag. Understand? This is available for image tag. By default, it is available, so that directly you can give it over here. But when it comes to, let's say a table tag, if I'll be writing something like height equal to, if I'm using 400 pixel, do we have like, the height property for the table? Do we have height property? Obviously, no, we don't have the height property. Then if you wanted to set it, then what you can do, we'll be using table dot style dot. Understand? We are going to give height, something like this. Understand? That means table dot style dot height. Even though you people have given height equal to 400 pixel, then it won't take it, because height is not the direct property of the table. Okay, height is not the property of the table, but src you can take, it is a direct property of that image. So that is where you can directly change its value, image.src. But if it is a table, you have to change directly. It is not possible, so that you can give table dot style dot height has to be given. Understand? Table dot style dot height has to be given. So for this scenario, if this is a case, I can directly use SRC with the help of attribute binding, property binding. But for this scenario, as like, height is not a direct property, it is an indirect property for the table. For that, what I can do, I'm using attr dot, what property you wanted to give, you can give it over there. Shrikant, how I come to know that which one is the direct property for the HTML and which one is not the direct property for the HTML? For that, you supposed to know about JavaScript, definitely. Okay, JavaScript, DOM, element properties. Okay, DOM attributes or element properties. You can see access key. Somewhere I can show you. Let's say, you can see we have has attribute is available. You can see when it comes to the button. Okay, now you can see we have an example, document.getElement by ID. This is how it is going to be. And if element dot has attribute to target, then you can apply this one. That means has attribute property is used to identify whether that particular attribute is available or not. Maybe I can show you with a simple example how we can do that. Let's say Visual Studio Code. I'll open my Visual Studio Code here. Let me close this folder. Let us close the folder here and go with a new file that what I can take. And this is going to be, or else let's say I'll open a folder, go to the D drive, and where I can go with full stack Angular, a simple example. I'll select the folder and I'll create a new file here, first.js I can give, and I'm going to, sorry, I'll do one thing. I'll rename it to first.html, and I'm going to print the logic that what I have copied from W3C. Now this is how it is going to be. We have like, my function, and I'm going to, I don't want to do this one. Just you can see, I'm going to use console.log. Let's have the element. I'm printing that element. You can see there. Nothing is there. When user click on this button, I wanted to execute this function, and then I wanted to get, you see this particular anchor tag reference, and then storing into this element. And I wanted to see like what properties we are having. If you can right click on here and open with the default browser, now you can see when I right click and go to that inspect, and there we have the console. Right now you can see we don't have anything, but the time when user click on it, where you can see we have an anchor tag which is available here. Okay, anchor tag which is available. Now what I can do is element document dot. I'll say where I can give element equal to document dot attributes. Maybe I can see, refresh it once again. Let's say execute, click on this. Now you can see we have like, that attributes. What are the attributes we are having? ID is an attribute. href is an attribute. Target is an attribute. Again, you can see ID target. These are the attribute. But apart from that one, you can see these are the methods that are supported. Not only that, if you can take, let's say, in place of this, I just wanted to take an image tag. I'll have an image tag. Okay, for this particular image, I am giving an ID is equal to my image. Maybe I can give my image here. I'll copy this, and if you can give it over here and save this application and then refresh it once again, the time when user click on here, now you can see ID, SRC, alternate text. Only these are what attributes. And suppose let's say these are like, what we are having here, what we are having. Suppose maybe let's say if I'll be giving width is equal to 200 and save it and then come back here and refresh it once again, you can see it is giving me, you can see that width that what I am having here. Understand? Width that what I am having. And apart from that one, you can see we have like many properties. Like all these are like what we call it as properties that we are having. Understand? We can access like, those attributes here. Whatever the attributes we are having here, you can give. But there are like special attributes that you cannot directly access. If you wanted to access them, there what you need to do, we have to write something like a table dot. In that we have style. In that we have height is available. In that special case, we can go with ATTR. That means if this is not working, then what you can do before that particular property, you can give income. That is how it is going. Now I will show you that example as well so that you will be understanding. Let me open my folder, Angular example, and we have this one. Let us open this folder directly, and I'm about that. Okay, I'll create a new component here, and then you can go to the components folder, right click on here, and then open an integrated terminal. Now you can see ngg C for the component, and here it is going to be, let's say, this is an example for attribute. Let's say attribute and hyphen skip hyphen test, I can say. And okay, 1 second. Oh, okay. No need to worry. Just it's a command prompt. And from here, you can give that command. ngg C for the component, attribute is the name, hyphen skip hyphen test, I can say. Now you can see a component is getting created with the name and attribute. We have the HTML and we have this one. Now what I just want to do, I want to write something like same yesterday's one, whatever we are having. I'm going to combine all those things here by writing a simple object, so that like everyone come to know. I'll create a simple object here. Maybe the name of the object is going to be product and the type is going to be any, where I can say something like product ID, and then ID is going to be, I'll be writing, let's say 101, and then we have product, sorry, product name is available. Maybe I can go with, let's go with mobile, I can say, and then the third one is going to be stock, I can give, and where I can give, maybe let's say you can give it true or you can give the false. And at the same time, I just want to display up over there. I'll go with something around 12,000. So these are the properties that I have given. And additionally, I'm trying to add like few more properties. Okay. Additionally, I'm using few more properties, something like, let's say table height, and the type is going to be the number, where I can have 100 is the one that what I'm giving. And at the same time, if you can give it the table width, and the type is going to be number, where I can give 500 here. And at the same time, table border I can say, and which is of type number is equal to 1 or 2 that you can give. That's it. So nothing is there. A simple JSON object that I have prepared here, where it contains the direct data. And apart from that one, I have applied few table properties. I have applied for few table properties. Now here you can see I'm displaying that particular data in my HTML. So how we can do that one? To do that one, I'll have a table, and the table will contain, before that, let's have a div tag, and where it comes with a container fluid, I can say. And I'm using, let's say, this is a, where I can say that attribute, or else like data binding. All together here, data binding example that what I can give. And generally, if you can see a table, how it would be when I'm using TR. Generally, if you can take a table, table is a collection of table rows. I have a table row where I can give TH, and in this particular one, what I can do, container fluid is a bootstrap class. Go and learn about the bootstrap. I told you, whenever if I'm using any class, that is bootstrap class. Just Google it. It will give you description about what it will do. Okay. Now you can see I have this information. I want to display it in my table. So that TH is going to be, first one is that ID, and then second one is going to be the name that we are having, and then third one is going to be, let's say I wanted to give a price over here, and then fourth one is going to be, let's say, availability. So like that I'm displaying, and after that I'll go with another TR, and here I want to display the data. So the first thing is going to be, I'll go with the TD. Now here this TD, I wanted to get a product ID. So how I can get the product ID from there? Tell me how I can get the product ID. How I can get the product ID? Everyone, guys, yes, very good. Interpolation syntax, nice, nice. How we can get it? Simply, we have the product object is available. There we have product ID. Understand? We have the product ID. In the same way, second one is what? Name is available. So how we can get that product dot? We have product name has to be given. And the third one is going to be, we have another TD and where I can say another TD product dot, what I supposed to give? A price over here. Now I'll be giving a price over there. And the last one is going to be, I'll have another TD here where I can have a checkbox. Understand? Where I can have a checkbox. So that let me create input type is equal to checkbox has to be given. And then we have a property that is going to be checked property. Yesterday I have explained you. So that is where I'm directly writing checked property based on what? Product dot what we are having here, stock. So that I can give a stock here so that automatically will get. Now you can see I'm going to run this particular one. So how I supposed to run it? We have a selector that is app-attribute. Let me go to my module and where I can say, okay, before that I'll go to my index.html and here I'll be giving app-attribute is the one, and at the same time attribute is the one that what I have created just now. Let me copy that and then giving it over there. Now we will run the application so that let's see. I'll open the terminal. NGS-O you can give. Oh, sorry. NGS-O if you can give. All right. NGS-O, then automatically, if we have like, only one project, then no need to specify the project. As I have only one project, right? The next example onwards, we will be creating new project. There we will be using that one. But if you can have only one project, no need to specify actually. Now you can see, I'm able to see here the data, right? You can see that. I'm able to see the data. Okay, fine. Now for this particular table, if you can see, I'm able to apply the border here or not. You can see border is equal to 1 if I'm using. And then you can see, am I able to get the border here or tell me? Right? Okay, very good. And at the same time, you can see I'm able to give some width also. When I give, let's say width is equal to 200 pixel. When I save it, now you can see, am I able to get the width here? Tell me. See this. Am I able to get the width? Or else let's say, if I just wanted to give, let's say height is equal to, if I'll be writing 500 pixel and save this one, and where you can see, I'm able to give a height here, right? Yes or no? Height I'm able to give, but width I cannot give because it is not direct property. If that is a case, what you can do, we can give, suppose like if which one is not happened through the HTML. If it is not happened through the HTML, then you can try attribute binding or property binding. Now here anyhow, I have like, the table border is available, right? Table border. In this variable, we have the border so that what I can do here, I can give this one and then give a table border. And at the same time, now you can see when I save it, now you can see I'm getting 2 pixel border here. At the same time, I have height, width is available. Now for this one, I'll go to here and I'm going to get the table width. I'll go to there and you can see table width has to be given. When I'm giving table width, am I able to apply it or not? Tell me. Yes or no? I'm able to apply the table width. And at the same time, we have height is available. Now for this height, I'm giving like this. And then you can see table height. I'm having around like 100 I have given so that I can give here the table height. Save this. Now you can see we have a issue. Now what is that issue? You can see that cannot bind to height since it is not a known property of the table. That means it is understandable in the HTML. But when it comes to the JavaScript, height is not able to understand. Width is able to understand, but height is not able to understand. If you people can get this kind of error, you can see that cannot bind to height since it is not a known property of the table. If you people are able to see this particular issue, then what you can do, before that, you can give attr dot. Understand? If you can give attr dot, there you can see we don't have any issues. Understood? Understood, guys? Tell me. Okay. That means few properties are going to be directly available. For them, you don't need to give that attr. You can directly give what with the help of square bracket. That is fine. But few properties in JavaScript, it is not able to understand, or else like in Angular, it is not able to understand. For those property, before the property name, you can give attr. Not only for the table, anywhere if you can go, wherever if it is not able to understand like this, then before that, give attr. So that automatically, internally, it creates an attribute with this name and assign the value which is available over there. Understood? But 90%, this kind of mechanism is very rare cases. Okay. It is very rare cases. If it is available, there you can go with that. If it is not available, then you can use this approach. But 90%, it's very rare to go with attr. That is the attribute binding. Most of the time we use property binding, or else we go with interpolation syntax. Interpolation syntax. Clear enough? Clear about these three? Tell me. That is the reason where I have taken a single example to demonstrate you all. Okay. Very good. But here in this approach, if you can see, we are doing only one-way data binding. One way in the sense, whatever the values we are having it in my component, those values I'm able to see it in my, HTML. But I have a requirement. I just wanted to change. Okay. I just wanted to change the UI, and that has to be updated in the component. Will it be possible? Any is nothing, man. You can remove it. Any is a type which can be access any type of data. That's it. Okay. Any is a type. Generally, it's a data type which can hold any type of value. It is C TypeScript type. Okay. Very good. Now you can see, but here the problem is whatever like we have the data here, I'm able to display the data here. That is fine. That's working fine. But I have a requirement. The requirement is going to be whenever if user has entered in the template, I wanted to change it in my UI, component. And whenever the component is changed, I want to do the change here also. That means two-way data binding I wanted to perform. Understand? I want to perform two-way data binding. So to do the two-way data binding, we follow a new syntax. That is what we call it as ng modal. Now before that, so far like what we have done, we are getting the data from component to the template. But now our requirement is going to be, I want to share the data from template to the component. For that reason, we use another binding. That is what we call it as a event binding. Now today's session, we will be understanding event binding, and the two-way data binding, we will understand it in next session. That means event binding is used to share the data from template to the component. Understand? And interpolation syntax is used for what? Getting the data from component to the template. If we can do both together, then we use two-way data binding. Understand? Right now, what we are doing, we are getting the data from here to here. That's it. We are not going to do anything. But now what I just want to do, I wanted to go with, I wanted to go with what? Event binding. Now, what is event binding? We will be understanding here what is event binding. Okay, what is event binding? And before that, I can write something like attribute binding. I can write something like attribute binding exactly. So it allows to, simply I can say, it allows to bind any dynamic value to the element attribute, These attributes are defined by using ATTR. That means how we can do that one? Simply I can say we use what? Syntax is like this. Syntax is going to be, we will be having ATTR dot, I'll say an attribute name is equal to whatever the value if you wanted to give, you can give. That means dynamic value that what you wanted to give. Understand? The best example is going to be, if we can take a table and table will contain ATTR dot height is equal to, we will be writing table height, and then you can close it. That's it. This is what the attribute binding. But it's very rare cases. 90% of the scenario, we will be not facing this kind of things. 90% of the scenario. Only 10% of the scenario where you can get that kind of issues. Then simply what you can do, you can give an ATTR so that automatically it will be doing. Now, above three things, I'll write a simple note. Above three mechanisms, like either it is a interpolation, or else the next one is going to be property binding, or else the next one is going to be attribute binding. Those are used to get the data from component to template. Those are used to get the data from component to the template. Understand? Those are used to get the data from component to the template that we are having. But I have a requirement, another requirement now. But if we want to share the data from template to the component. Template in the sense HTML, guys. Do remember when I say about the template is nothing but the HTML. But we have a requirement. What is the requirement? We want to share the data. Understand? We want to share the data from template to the HTML. Template to the component. We use what? We use what binding? Event binding. We use event binding. And it can be, or else let's say I'll be writing event binding. Now what is event binding? when user, I'll say, when user interacts with the application, application in the form of, how a user will interact with that application. Suppose let's say I have my Flipkart application. Maybe I'll open my Flipkart application. When I open, let's say, Flipkart application, I can interact with this particular application either by clicking on it or by typing from here. That means these are the things that what I can perform, right? Am I right? Tell me how I can interact. Either I can click on here, or else what I can do, I can give some input to this one by giving a value. So that means we can give something. When I keep my mouse on here, you can see here. If I keep my mouse on here, I'm able to get that one. I'm able to see this one. I'm able to see this like this. When I keep my mouse on here, this is how it is going to be. That means when user interacts with the application in the form of, let's say, a keyboard, okay, a keyboard, or else, let's say, mouse over and then mouse out, or else single click, or else double click, like that it is going to be. Understand? Like that it is going to be. Or else you may select something from the drop down list. Then what happen? Then internally, it is called an action, and that is technically an event. Now, what is mean by an event? An event is something like what? An user interaction. That means when I click on, let's say, you can see in this application, that time when user click on here, keep mouse on here, then I'm able to see an image here in the big, right? When user keep mouse on here, I'm able to see. Suppose if I click on, let's say, this particular TV and appliances, internally it's open something like that. When I click on there, then automatically it is going to display that. All these are what we call it as user interactions. Interaction, and that interaction, technically we call it as an event. Now, simple term, an event is an action performed by the user. That's it. An event is nothing but an action performed by the user. And whatever that events are available, every event, when an event is happened, we have to handle it with the help of event handlers. Event handlers, those are nothing but functions. Those are nothing but functions. Event handler is nothing but what? It is a simple function, I can say. An event handler is nothing but a function, I can say. Understand? That means what events are available? Examples are going to be, we have like different events are available. Mouse events are available. Okay, mouse events are available. And then we have keyboard events are available. Key up, key down. And then click events are available. And then change events are available. Okay, change events are available. Form events are available. Focus, blur, like that, etc. These are all that events that are available. That means we can use this. That means in JavaScript, do remember in JavaScript, all events are supported in Angular. That means in JavaScript, we have, let's say, 10 events. Those 10 are supported here. If I'm having 20 events, those 20 are supported here. If I'm having 100, those 100 also supported here. Everything. But what is the difference here? The only difference is going to be in JavaScript, we write like this. In JS, if you wanted to write, let's say I have a button, and for this, if I wanted to write an event where you can write like this, right? and this is the button. Maybe I can say that click me. But when it comes to Angular, okay, in Angular, if at all, if you wanted to generate it, then simply remove the on and give a parenthesis. That's it. Understand? That is the reason in Angular, event binding is represented with the help of what? Parenthesis. Understand? In Angular, in Angular, event binding is represented with parenthesis. You can give the parenthesis. Once if you can give the parenthesis, then automatically we will be happy. Understood? Tell me. Yes or no? Hello. That's it. So this is how it is going to be. Now, how I can share that particular data? Maybe let's say when user click on it here, I wanted to share the data. That is my requirement. So how we can do that one? I will show you with a simple example. Nothing major. Right. Yes. I will show you with an example. Maybe let's do one thing. I'll create a new one here. Let us stop this execution first of all. Stop this execution. We'll keep it, send it back and clear the screen. All right. What happened? Right. Now I'll go to this terminal. CMD, clear the screen, ng, g, c for the component, and then event binding, hyphen skip, hyphen test, I can say, so that automatically that will be added. Okay. Now, right, here we have, you can see the basic sanity that what I can do quickly. I'll go to this TS file and I'm taking this selector. Here I can share, save it, and then go to that index.html. And then go to that app module where I have the event binding and save it. And here I can say that ngs hyphen. Okay. Now you can see where it in event binding. Now what I want to do, I'm going to open that one. Let me close all. I'll open my event binding example. We have a TS file and we have the HTML. So we have something like this. Now what I want to do, I'll create a property here. Simply just you may write like, some property. Maybe initially I'll have an employee ID, which is of type number is equal to, let's write 101. And the next one is going to be employee name, which is of type, let's say string I can give, and where I can write my name over here. Where I can write like this, and at the same time, EMP salary I can say, which is of type number, where I can go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is how the data is going to be. Now you can see here I'm going to display that particular data where I can say I have a div with the name container as the class. And then you can see I'm having some data list where I have definition term, employee ID, I have the DD, I can get that particular data, EMP ID, I guess. You can see that we have like employee ID, employee name, and then we have the salary. Now you can see I have, let's say, EMP name, and then I'll give a DD where I can give EMP name. It's not capital, go with the small. And after that DT, I have the salary and I'll be using DD here, and I can say that EMP salary and save it. Now you can see I'm able to display the data here. Now what I just want to do, I want to do, let's say have a button. When user click on the button, I wanted to change the values. That is what my requirement. So how we can do that one? To do that one, first of all, what I can do is I'll take another div here. Let me have a button. Now you can see when user click on here, I wanted to change. So that what I can do, what you want to write, you can see that we have like lot of events are available. Click is there, mouse over, mouse out. We will be using based on the requirement. I can take one by one. Don't worry. I'll be using at this moment. I'll take a click over here. Now, when user click on it, I just wanted to change the data. That is my requirement. But you see, the time when I'm giving change data, here I am unable to get. That means we have an error here. Are we able to see an error here or not? You can see that. What is that error? You can see that the property change data does not exist on the type event binding, on the type that is event binding. The property does not exist on the type that is event binding. So for that reason, what I can do, I'll copy this and then I'll give it here. Now here you can see, give it over there. Now you can give a different values. Let's say this dot employee ID is equal to 102, and then this dot employee name is equal to, you can give a different name here, and at the same time this dot EMP salary is equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I can give. Understand? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I can give. Now once if I'm giving that, now you can just come back here. Initially this is the data, but once if user interact with this and I click on that, am I able to change the data here or not? Tell me. That means basically here what I am doing, I'm sending the data to here. I'm sending a request to here and I'm updating the values. And those values are updated here also. And because of that reason only, initially you can see 101 Srikanth and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The time when user click on here, automatically it changes here. This is what we call it as event binding. Understand? This is what we call it as event binding. That means user will interact with that application and perform an action, interact with that application and perform an action. At that time, we are going to share the data, whatever we are having, and then we can modify it. Understand? We can modify it. So that is how it is going to be. Sir, use the next tag. Means Shashi Prakash, I am not getting what is your question. Next time, okay, that we will see. Don't worry. Okay, That we will see next and previous, that we will be understanding very soon. Okay. Okay. Sir, I'm getting an error in my app module file. I cannot understand it. Abhishek, we have a session on Saturday where you can get more clarity. Otherwise, you can go to the lab directly in Naresh IT. There also you can get the solution for that. Okay. In Naresh IT also we have like the lab coordinators who are working. So there also you can get it. So this is what we call it as event binding. Now what we are doing, user will interact with the application. Then also we can share the data. At that particular time, we can go with the event binding. But at a single shot, I just want to do modification in both the places. Understand? That means at a single shot, I just want to do the modifications in both the places. Then at that moment, we can go with the next concept. That is what we call it as a two-way data binding. Now, what is two-way data binding? It is used to modify the data. It is used to modify the data when user modifies in HTML, that is in template, to the component and the data from HTML to component, or else like component to HTML. In both the places, if you can do the modification, in both the places, if you can do the modification, then if you wanted to change accordingly, here template, I have a template and the template is changed, then I can change it in the component. Otherwise, let's say I change something in my component where I wanted to change it in the template. Then at that time, we go with the two-way data binding. That means how we can do that one. So it is the combination of, I can say that it is the combination combination of attribute and event binding. Attribute and event binding. Generally, attribute binding, how we bracket, and when I say about event binding, we will be doing it with the help of this one. That is what binding. So that we are implementing two-way data binding, two-way data binding by two-way data binding by using something like this. By using something like this. And for this one, we use a special directive. That is what we call it as NG model. That means we will be using NG model. NG model is a predefined one. We are not creating a predefined. It is available, which is available in forms module. That means whenever if you wanted to use that, we can use the forms module. And also one more important thing you have to understand here is we can apply the NG model. We can apply the only for input elements. Understand? You can say simply form elements. That means will contain input type like that. We are having different things are available, right? So we will be using definitely for them. That is how it is going to be. Understand? That is how it is going to be. Now, how we can use it? How we can use it? I will show you with an example. Let's say you can see this. Now, any doubt before I'm going to start attribute binding, give me doubts, any doubts? Tell me. No, right? Everyone is good. Okay. Very good. Right. Okay. No doubts, right? Okay. I'll take it as no, and I'll take another example. I'll take another example. Now you can see, let me stop this. Let us stop this and clear the screen. Now, what I want to do, I'll be using NGG C for the component, and this is a two-way data binding. Two-way binding hyphen skip hyphen tests. Right? Now you can see two-way data binding. Somewhere you can find, yes, here it is. I'll go to my TS file and then copy this. Let's go to the HTML page and we will be using and save these ones. And at the same time, go to my app module. And here we have the two-way data binding where I can give that one as well. That's it. So this is how I have given. Now what I just want to do is, you can see, I'll go to my application terminal New terminal window. I'll give a command prompt, clear the screen, ngs hyphen. Now you can see two-way data binding component is going to be created. Right. This is how two-way data binding works. Now what I just want, first of all, I will create, I just want to do here is, let's see, I'm writing product name, same product name, which is of type, let's say string is equal to, let's say iPhone 15 or something. And at the same time, I'll have the stock, which is of type Boolean, where I can give true or false. And the next one is going to be, we have city information, and then type as going to be the string. I'll be writing something like Hyderabad. Okay. Now, generally, like how we are going to display this one, simply I'll go to my HTML where I can take a div, and inside the div, you can display that product information. That's up to you. The way how we are going to display that, you can do that one. It's a quite simple one. Product name. I'll get the product name from here. See this product name and give a break tag. After that, product stock, I can say, or else let's say city name. Let's go with the city. I have the city. And then stock availability. Stock availability. And here you can see we are getting that from this particular variable, that is the stock, where I can give a stock. Suppose if it is going to be true, equal to, let's say true, then I'm going to display available, else I'll display out of stock. Understood what I am doing here? That means if the stock variable is having the value as going to be true, then what I am trying to do? What I am trying to do? I'm displaying something like available. Otherwise, I'm going to display out of stock. Now you can see I'm able to display like this. You can see that I'm able to display like this. Display like this. This is how it is going to be. And I'm giving a break tag to come to this. Now what I want to do, I'll take a simple form. I'll take a simple form, and by using that particular form, I'll modify the value, and it has to change it in both the places. That is what our requirement. So how we can do that one? Now you can see what I want to do is I'll take another div here. Let's say enter product, enter product name I can give. Generally, user will enter the product name by using an input type as going to be the text. And here, what I can do is I'm going to use here ng model. Ng model is equal to whatever we are having here, you can just give. That means here you can see product name, same property name has to be given. Now I'll just copy that and then giving it over there. But you see, we have an error. Ng model cannot bind since it is not a known property for an input type. That means it is not available. But ng model, it's a predefined one. Ng model is a predefined one. So that what I can do? I'll be using directly. I'll be using directly. Go to the app module, and here we have the browser module is there, right? In here, you can give forms module. Now you can just give the forms module where you can see we don't have any issues, compiled successfully. That means what has to be included? Forms module has to be included over there. Now you can see that is where I have mentioned here that point also for you. NG model is a predefined type which is available under the forms module. We must have to include the forms module. If you are not including, then we will be having an error. That is the reason it is must to include. And then I'll give a break tag. And the next one is going to be stock availability. Okay, we have what? Stock availability. That means how we can get that particular stock availability? That you can get it by using might be a checkbox. So that let's say I'll be using an input type as going to be. You can see that availability input type as going to be. I'll be using checkbox. Now for this one also the same. I'm using what? ng model is equal to, what is the property we are having? Stock is the property. Let's give the stock here. Understand? And then we'll be using the third one. Let's say select city. Select city. For this one, I'm using a select tag. Okay, select tag. And here also what I can do, I used ng model. I use what? ng model is equal to, you can give this particular one. Understand? You can give this particular. That's it. Now here what you can do, we have to provide like, the different options. Different options has to be provided. Maybe let's say Hyderabad. And after that, let me go with the next one and the next one, Hyderabad. Let's say Vizag. Okay. And then Chennai. Like that, you can give different values over there. That's it. Now you can see it is compiled successfully. Now you can observe that. Okay, you can observe that this is how the options are going to be. Now, when I'm changing this value, iPhone 15 to 16, it is updated in both the places or not. See that? Maybe let's say OnePlus, okay, 10 or something. And here stock availability, you can see that. That time when I'm changing, it is getting updated. When I select Vizag, I'm able to get Vizag here. You can see that. Hyderabad, Vizag. So this is what we call it as a two-way data binding. Understand? Understand. That means one place, if we can do the change, then both the places it is getting affected. Now, when I select Vizag, it is going to be changed. In place of iPhone 15, let's say OnePlus 10R, then I'm able to get it. Now you can see when I'm selecting available or out of stock. Now, how I'm able to achieve this particular one? How I'm able to achieve that particular one? By using what? Two-way data binding. That is what here it is. It is used to modify the data. When user modify the template, then component will be modified. And at the same time, vice versa. And how we can do that one? We can do that with a combination of attribute and event binding. So how we can do that? By using ng model. And what is ng model? ng model is a predefined type which is used in the forms module, which is available on the forms module. And we can apply that ng model for only the form element. Understand? And this process, what we call it as a two-way data binding. And these are the data binding techniques that we are going to be used much more in our real time. And apart from that, still we have like, different things like, let's say, class binding, style binding, Like that, we have different things are available. I'll just explain you like one by one by taking good examples. Okay, in the next session onwards. So this is all about the data binding mechanism. Any questions here? Please ask me. If there is no questions, you may please leave for the day. If there is no questions, you can leave. If you people are having any question, just please do ask.